Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 206, and we're going to cover Proverbs chapters 20 through 22. So we continue our discourse from Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly, and we've been getting random proverbs so far. And as we dig into them, continue to do the work within yourself of seeing what both have to offer so you can make sure you've made the right commitment. And when you win others, you'll know what you're winning them to. So let's look at a few of these. Chapter 20, wine is a mocker and beer is a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. It's Lady Wisdom. It is to one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. We see that time and time again, Lady Wisdom telling us to basically mind our business a lot of times, because when you're dealing with a mocker or a quarreler, it's not going to go well. It says it's like pulling a dog by the ears. It's getting involved in a quarrel that doesn't belong to you. Now, obviously, sometimes it's going to hit too close to home where you have to get involved and you have to be a peacemaker. But most times than not, you really don't have to get involved. And it's called meddling. Meddling is when you're engaging in affairs that don't pertain you or belong to you. Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? It's so true. Lady Wisdom knows this. She's been around a long time and knows that faithfulness is hard to find. The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure? I am clean without sin. Nobody. Only Christ can say this. Different weights and different measures. The Lord detests them both. We've seen that time and time again. The Lord hates false scales and he hates false measurements. He doesn't like us to be deceptive in any way, even business dealings. Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. Obviously, Lady Wisdom has this to offer to us because she was there when it happened. Do not love sleep or you will grow poor. Stay awake and you will have food to spare. And you'll see this time and time again. Solomon just mocks laziness through Lady Wisdom. She has nothing good to say about it. You'll see some other statements in the few chapters that we'll cover today. It's no good, says the buyer, then goes off and boasts about the purchase. And you see this a lot where people will try to devalue something in the presentation just so they can get a better deal. And when they get the deal, they mark it back up to what they knew the value was. It's similar, another way of saying false scales, doing this in a different way. It just dishonors God, and Lady Wisdom is just pulling the curtain off of it and exposing it. Gold is there and rubies in abundance, but lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. Are you starting to be thematic about these? Boom, this goes with righteous speaking. This goes with unrighteous speaking. Look at this one, verse 19. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. That's Lady Wisdom speaking on something that Lady Folly would produce, is a gossiper, and they'll betray your confidence. So try to avoid someone who talks too much. If they're sharing somebody else's business with you, they're going to share your business when they're not with you. Lady Wisdom already knew that. You don't have to bump your head to find it out. She tells you that right here. Do not say, I'll pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord and he will avenge you. This is speaking on the sin of revenge and retaliation. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? We saw this in Proverbs 16, that a man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. And it's so true. If the Lord directs your steps, you really don't know where you're going. We could set out plans, but the Lord could easily frustrate those. I've heard it put one way: always put your plans in pencil, never put them in ink or permanent marker. And it's just so true. We need to live lightly because we do not know with 100% certainty the will of God. And when we ascertain it through all of the skills that we have, we still need to move with a little fear and trepidation, knowing that the Lord could change or redirect that in any given moment. And this chapter closes out, the glory of young men is their strength. Gray hair is the splendor of the old. And this is a really good proverb because you need both. You need strength and you need gray hair, and they complement each other well, because the old man is waning in strength the older he gets, and the young man is lacking in wisdom. And if you have both of those in the same room, you better look out. You can get a lot of work done and a lot of damage can be done. Proverbs 21. Listen to this. In the Lord's hand, the king's heart is a stream of water, and he channels toward all who please him. So a king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he directs it whichever way he wishes. And we knew this already. Remember when Lady Wisdom gave her appeal, her case? She says, my wisdom is in the mouth of kings, and I've been with princes. I was with the Lord from the very beginning. And so she tells you that she's been on the mouth of kings. Now she tells you the Lord that she's been with controls the hearts of kings. And so we just get to see more and more the benefits of knowing this lady. Pursue her. Why not? A person may think their own way is right, but the Lord weighs the heart. It's a piece on motives there. And to do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. It's a piece on discipline there. The Lord desires discipline more than desire. See, a sacrifice flows from desire. You want to do something so bad, you give it to the Lord in the form of a gift. But the Lord wants obedience. He wants you to just do what he says, and he controls desire. He'll allow desire to come. I was just talking about this recently, that Matthew 6 says that where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And what that verse means is not that you can find a person's heart when you find their treasure. That's true. But what it means is, where you put treasure, your heart will follow it. So if you put treasure in sports and being around sports, then your heart's going to follow that. If you put treasure around various sins like lust or love of money or pride, your heart is going to be activated when you pursue those things. So what God is telling you is put treasure in scripture. Open up scripture, put treasure there, and say, heart, you're going to get activated by me reading this and me seeking God. I'm going to seek God, and God promises me that you will show up. And that's what we are to do. When we put our treasure, our heart will follow. It will wake up. It may come stumbling in like Snuffleupagus, but eventually he'll come and he'll show up. He picks at laziness again in verse 5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. And Lady Wisdom gives wisdom around marriage. She says it's better to live in the desert than with the quarrelsome and nagging wife. And it also says here that like constant drippings is living with a contentious woman. And so Lady Wisdom is saying, hey, I've seen the type of women that this life can produce. You don't want to be around a contentious woman. You don't want to be around a nagging woman. And you don't want to be around a quarrelsome woman or a woman without discretion. I don't care how much beauty she has. And she gives us the playbook here. Then Solomon picks on laziness again. Listen to verse 25. The craving of a sluggard will be the death of him because his hands refuse to work. And he gives the end of laziness. Eventually it'll kill you because those vices are going to create so many bad habits that one of them is going to take you out, whether it's poor eating, your biology, whether it's refusing to work, the harsh conditions on your life, because you have to suffer so much, whether it's poor planning and it causes you to carelessly and accidentally leave this earth prematurely. But laziness is a form of lady folly, and we must flee her at all costs. It's 29. The wicked put up a bold front, but the righteous give thought to their ways. It's so good. There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. How does she know that? Because she's seen it time and time again. People load up horses, people load up artillery, and they fall short to somebody smaller than them, somebody lesser in size than them, and somebody who doesn't have the Lord on their side. And she can tell us with boldness that, look, you need the Lord, because I've seen time and time again, people with the most stuff, with the most advancements that were smarter, more technology, better militaries, all like dominoes in the face of Yahweh. And it doesn't matter that the wicked puts up a bold front. She knows that the upright is the one who succeeds because he pursues wisdom and gives thought to his ways. And we wrap up here today in chapter 22. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. The rich and the poor have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. You see how Lady Wisdom is just ringing this off in rapid succession? Like, you should fall in love with her. You should say, wow, how does she know all of this? She's speaking through Solomon because he possesses her, and it should make you desire to possess her as well, because you should recognize your simpleness and say, I want to be converted. I want to be wise. And this is how you do it. Verse 4, humility is the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life. We just got a key. What is the fear of the Lord? Humility. And so now we found a synonym on why Jesus, when he gets to the Sermon on the Mount, what does he say? Blessed is the what? The poor in spirit, That's another way of saying this. Blessed is the humble, which is another way of him directing you to Lady Wisdom. Blessed are those who fear the Lord. See, Jesus isn't making up anything different. If you would have read Proverbs prior to hearing Jesus speak, you would have heard Lady Wisdom even coming from his mouth because she's been with him ever since the beginning of time. Verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And this is a very important verse because a lot of people get this verse wrong, but it's not horrible. They say, listen, if you train up a child in the way that they should go, when they're old, they'll come back to their training. They won't forget it. And that's really not what this proverb's saying. Really, in the Hebrew, that word train means dedicate. And so what it means is if you dedicate a child in the way that he's going, meaning if you leave them in their sin and allow them to walk in their simpleness, eventually they'll meet Lady Folly and they'll be set in their ways and they won't depart from it. So it's really not a positive, it's a negative. It's really not instruction. But if you misinterpreted this verse, the instruction is what gets you out of this verse. You should train a child in the way that they should go, away from their bent, away from their sin nature. And so really, you aren't misinterpreting it in a way that's just detrimental and just completely botching the verse. You're just getting the directionality of it wrong, but practically you end up rightly. And what Solomon and Lady Wisdom are asking is, have you listened to me? Are you going to follow what I say? Or are you going to let your kids off the hook? Because if you let your kids off the hook, they'll be that way forever. And you are, what we talked about yesterday, a willing participant in their death. If you leave your kids in depravity, they'll harden in that forever. They'll be depraved forever. And it's interesting that psychology even backs this up. And they've even done studies and they show and learn that a kid's personality is set by their teenage years. What's going on there? It's in this proverb. You get hardened in your ways the older you get. So train your children, my friends. There have been said to be 4 types of parenting styles. You have the authoritarian who leads with fear. You have the permissive parent who lets their child off the hook and gets away with everything. You have the uninvolved parent. That's the absent parent, or you can be in the home and still be absent. That's the father who says, I'm doing my job just because I provide, but he's not there. He's uninvolved. That's the mother who puts the kids in daycare and only spends an hour with them and doesn't know what's going on in their life and is not really involved, and somebody else is raising her children. And then you have the authoritative parent, and that's where I fall. It's where you're involved to the degree that God is giving you the ability to be involved, whether it's full-time, homeschool, whether it's somebody else aiding you, but you haven't jettisoned that responsibility. You are your child's primary trainer, educator, nourisher, cherisher, provider, and developer. And if anybody helps you with, that's exactly what they're doing. They're helping, not replacing. And you see again, listen to how Lady Wisdom mocks laziness. Verse 13, the sluggard says, there's a lion outside. I'll be killed in the public square. What is she doing? She's showing what lazy people do. They'll come up with any excuse. It was lions during the time of Israel, but they will come up with that excuse just not to work. And that still happens today. Students saying, my dog ate my homework. That's analogous to this. You have people who will fake sicknesses, manufacture doctor prescriptions. They'll even go to the doctor to get a prescription just to take off work. I've even heard of people lying about deaths in the family just to take leave. It's just people go to great lengths to operate in laziness. And Lady Wisdom is mocking that. She's saying, look, if you pursue me, I could teach you how to work hard, work smart, and have rest and peace in your work. She's telling us to follow her. She knows the way. And then we enter into 30 sayings of the wise, and we'll wrap up here. And some of these sayings, you hear it here, saying 1, verse 17, pay attention and turn your ear to the sayings of the wise. Apply your heart to what I teach, for it is pleasing when you keep them in your heart and have them ready on your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. I teach you today, even you. Have I not written 30 sayings to you, sayings of counsel and knowledge, teaching you to be honest and speak true? so that you bring back truthful reports to those who serve you. So you'll get 30 different sayings. And a lot of people will try to trip you up with this. So listen closely to this. Solomon leans on Egyptian proverbs and Egyptian wisdom when he's writing some of these. He starts out the same, and it's been sourced to an Egyptian text titled The Wisdom of Amenemope. And what people will say is, see, Solomon wasn't wise. He borrowed this stuff from somebody else. And why would you trust the Bible when somebody else had their wisdom before him? Listen, here's your argument. It doesn't matter if wisdom came before Solomon. Lady Wisdom said she came before Solomon. Even in the proverb, she was there since creation. And so that wisdom does not belong to Amenemope. That wisdom belongs to Lady Wisdom, and it belongs to God. And so this happens a lot, where cultures in that time would observe what is going on and gain wisdom and record it. And Israel would use things in their culture. And a lot of times when people study that and they see that it's not original, they think that the Bible is not accurate. Logic belongs to Jesus. Wisdom belongs to Jesus. And so it doesn't matter who says it. If a writer wants to quote it and make it inspired, so be it. Don't let that argument trip you up. Paul quotes worldly poet, bad company corrupts good morals. That's a poet by the name of Menander. To an inscription of an unknown God, Paul is reading the words from the people of that day. In him we move and have our being. Jude and Peter quotes the book of Enoch. And let's not be tripped up because people use other sources. They all belong to God anyway. And if a person wanted to look over and thought that material would be good for our benefit, and the Lord grants access to that and inspires it, so be it. Don't let that bother you. I've heard people hearing different creation accounts that were similar to ours, and that just shouldn't bother you. If a person is here, they're going to think about creation and they're going to write down what they believe about it. And so if there's some overlap, it's just overlap. And a lot of times it gets so mythical and so far in left field, you'll see where they go wrong and miss it. But I just want you to have a strong faith and know that your Bible is accurate and worthy to be trusted. God is 100% trustworthy, and Lady Wisdom has been with him long enough to prove that case. Let's continue to listen to her. You guys take care and have a good day.